Hi everyone, I'm Scott Schneider. This is Stereo Niche. And this week it's time to go back and take a look at a pioneer receiver. This week it's a quad unit, the QX-949. All right, so let's talk about the quad era of the early 70s or mid 70s. So quad only stuck around for, I'm not sure, I think it was developed in 72 and then came out in 73. And it was that next step up, that that attempt, I think, at the music market, electronics market, to obsolete, the stereo two-channel and try to get in, an upgrade from consumers. But it didn't last long. I think it was overly complex. You needed now 4 speakers, and probably very similar to the evolution of home theater in a way, except home theater was much more successful in getting consumers to continue to adopt, add more speakers, add more hardware. But in the mid 70s, it doesn't appear to be, it never took hold and it didn't take off. A lot of companies tried to expand the market. They came out with quad units, but you had to go out and buy new media, you had to go out and buy more hardware, upgrade everything to get it to work. So unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe for all of us, it didn't work out. But between 74 and 76, some really great units were made, and that includes this one from Pioneer. This is the QX series. This is the largest in that model line. This is the 949. There was a 747 and I believe a 649 as well. So quad units today, some people, I actually don't know any myself, but there are a few people out there that try to find quad media that's available. It's hard to find, especially in good condition, and play quad music, but I'm not one of those. So the way I typically look at these are 2-channel units with some very interesting features, and those features are unique to the quad units. So for example, this little EQ here, it's a very interesting little dynamic, looks like a little radar screen in a way. But this is for setting up the balance when you have it in 4-channel, and it puts off this really cool little EQ almost to show you how much output, I guess, each section, each speaker is putting out graphically. So you can adjust that with these little individual balance controls here to control the output for each and sort of center that room, get that balance you're looking for in a quad setup. But for 2-channel, it still works, but it's only for, on the top left and right here. So quad units sort of have these little unique features that make them pretty cool. The JVC unit that I reviewed some time ago gives you EQ for left and right, unlike most. So it gives you these interesting little features. Now the quad units typically you can play, like this one, it is rated at 40 watts per channel for 4 speakers. Or if you wanted to switch it to 2-channel only, there's a switch on the back that you can turn around and make it 60 watts per channel if you knew that you were always going to have it in 2-channel mode. But what I think was a cool feature or an option for these is that if you wanted to, say, run stacked advents, for example, you could set that up with 4-channel mode and have 40 watts per speaker and then run them stacked that way. So for something like that, if you had a sort of a unique setup that you wanted to run, I think they're an excellent option for something like that. But for me, I don't run stacked anything, at least not yet. I do plan to try that in the future, but I'm mostly always running 2-channel. And so for me, I would always have it in that sort of setup. But quad units do give you that flexibility that you don't have with a regular 2-channel stereo. So they're sometimes a unique situation, and they might be perfect for your scenario. So I think they should always be in consideration. Now this line looks very similar to the XX1010 because they're the same era. They have that blue face, which I think is very cool. I know everyone is mostly inclined to like the big silver face that came after this, but for me, I've got a little bit of a soft spot here. For the blue face, they just tend to, you know, look good to me. I don't know why, but I tend to like them quite a bit. I think because they kind of don't light up as much in the room a bit, and they sort of have that nice glow across the room in the same way that Macintosh does. And that Macintosh has that sort of nice glow in the dark. And for me, that's what these do as well. Lots of features, but for 4-channel, I think you get some cool stuff like the little graphic here and the ability to run four speakers in 2-channel and run them in stacked mode. So for things like that, I think you've got an interesting unit that we should consider. So I think that's kind of the features I wanted to point out for now. We're going to do some close-up shots, and then at the end, I'll go through all the features and show you how they rank as far as what options are available. All right, so let's run through the features that I give a score for. Now, as you know, if you've seen my other reviews, I don't give any points for 4-channel type functionality, but so everything here is based on 2-channel. So this is the Pioneer QX-949, manufactured from 74 to 76. Now, I have seen some indicate 73 could be one of those situations where it was released early into the market, but as far as the Orion guide is concerned, it's 74 to 76, and it had an MSRP of $750, so not an inexpensive unit. Mentioned before too, on the power side of things, in 4-channel mode, you get 40 watts per channel. If you were to switch it on the back and restrict it to 2-channel mode, you would get it 60 watts per channel. So I've left this one in 4-channel, by the way, just because it operates the same, but it's just 40 watts. But it's a quad, and I've sort of just left it in that quad mode. But anyway, if you wanted to use this again as a special unit for running stacked speakers, I think this would be an awesome receiver for that. It does handle 4 ohm loads, by the way. Moving on to phonos, it does have 2 phonos, both MM, no MC functionality, so 20 points. For auxiliary connections, I counted 4 additional connections, so it gets 40 points. On the balance side of things, of course, you've got the cool little balance meter here, but it has balance, it gets 5 points. Loudness switch, 5 points for that. On to tone controls, not a lot of tone control here like some stereos have. but it does have bass and treble, so 5 points each. Has high-low filters, which is very nice to have if you're going to record anything, and so 10 points for that. No meters and no ability to separate the pre and amp, but so no points for that. But it does have a very nice wood case, and I love the way that Pioneer implemented the wood case for this series. It was a big transition from the separate case that you used to buy for the Marances and for Macintosh. So they did an excellent job at designing and implementing this case, wood case for the Pioneer series. So it gets 20 points for that. On to AC connections, it has one switched, two unswitched, gets 10 points for that. Now on to speaker connections, it's a quad unit. And a lot of times you can only hook up 2 sets, but in this case you get 4 sets. And the hook connections on the back can be a little confusing. If you look at the manual, they do this 1, 3, 2, 4 sort of combinations. But if you look on the back, it really is just A, connections for first set, and then B for the other set. And then there are the rears, they call them. But it's really not so confusing if you don't sort of get hung up on the manual a bit. But in any case, you can hook up 4 sets of speakers, which I think is the most I've run across, because you can play them independently here. So 40 points for that. So all told, 215 points, which kind of surprising. I thought because of the special features like number of sets of speakers and things like that, I thought it would get a little higher, but it's missing some things like meters and some other things like that. So it didn't get moved up, and it's fairly medium or low on the low side of power. So doesn't get points for that some other receivers have, but 215 is just fine. Again, what makes this receiver stand out is some of the flexibility and some of the special features that you get by being a quad unit, and if you wanted to leverage that with a 2-channel system. So it's a cool system, a cool receiver, and if you've got that unique scenario, I think it would work out perfectly for some folks. So that's the Pioneer QX-949. I did also want to mention one more thing, and that is I have a couple of Sensui quad units, and for whatever reason they are very problematic. The quad systems were quite complex, a lot of extra circuitry in these receivers to make quad. And in those Sensui, I have a Sensui QRX-9009, which was the biggest quad unit for Sensui. And all of them have sort of cold solder joint issues, and they're very, very problematic, and they're so complex that some techs just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to get in there. It's quite the rat's nest, I think. But this series from Pioneer seems to be quite stable. I've actually not run across any that I don't think didn't work. So they seem to be, as far as quad units are concerned, they seem to be a very well-built and have stood the test of time as far as all that additional circuitry. Not that any didn't. Some of them haven't had issues. I'm sure they have, but by and large, every Sensui QRX I've run across has had issues, and that's just not been the case with the Pioneers. So don't know if it's more simplistic or just better manufacturing. We'll let some techs chime in for that. I can just tell you that from a practical experience, they just seem to be a lot more dependable than Sensui quad units. Well, I think that's it for this week. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next video, hit subscribe. If you want to get notified, hit that bell. And also give us a thumbs up. That'd be nice. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.